Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So today we're making this elf draft or door stopper for Christmas. So for his legs, and you can make his legs as long as you want. That's the part that stops the drafts. So we're going to use, this is a 1/2 inch self-sealing foam draft protection. And it opens like this and slips underneath your door. And of course you take the yellow off for the adhesive part that sticks to your door. So I'm only doing this for a 30-inch door for an interior door of my house. Mine's just a door stopper. But I'm still using the draft protection. And mine's just over 12 inches long, and I've done 2 of them for his legs and a safety eye. So I got these off Amazon. I'll put them on the screen, but they're super duper freaky eyes. But they ended up being perfect what I was wanting. So let's go over the yarn that I used. So this green that I used is, most of the yarn that I used are from bags. I buy bags of yarn off of Marketplace. And a lot of them just don't have labels. And so you can choose whatever colors you want. I'm going to tell you whether it's worsted or whether it's just a 4-weight. And we'll have to just go from there. This green is just a 4-weight green. This I'm using for the skin color. It's just a regular 4-weight. This here does have a label. I have no idea what it is, where it comes from. Princess Multi. It's a worsted. That's the label. Looks pretty old. Says made in Canada. I don't know. There's no actual, unless Princess Multi is the actual brand name, but that actually came with, and it's got all these little flexes in it. So it's super cute. And the white that I'm using is just Lion Brand's Pound of Love. It is just a regular 4-weight, but it's nice and thick and good to work with. So all mine are about the same size of yarn. It's important that these two for the striped legs be the same size or close to it. So this is a worsted, but this is a thicker 4-weight, so they worked well together. If they didn't, then you would kind of see a color raised more than the other color, and I just don't have that here, so they worked really well together. So just make sure that they're the same size of yarn or close to it. Let's jump right into this. So I'm using a 4.5 for this because most of my yarn, I mean, even though it's all different yarn and I'm not even sure what it is, the 4.5 seemed to work really well. So that's what I'm going to use. Now, this is all going to be built in amigurumi. If you don't want to do the striped legs in amigurumi, then that's completely up to you. You don't have to. You get the spiral part of the working in amigurumi, but I do know how to kind of combat that a little bit. So we'll talk about that in the video. We're just going to start with the body though. The legs are super long, but so we're just going to start with the body. We're going to get all the kind of short pieces out of the way, and then we can start with the long pieces. So we're going to start with green. We're going to start with a magic ring of 6 single crochets. You are going to need a stitch marker because it's built in amigurumi. Your first round is going to be 2 single crochets in each stitch. We're going to pop over here to our first stitch. No slip stitching, no chaining. our first stitch gets the marker. The second stitch you put in that same space, and each space around will give you a total of 12 stitches. Your next round is going to be 1 single crochet and an increase. This will give you 18 stitches. That's number 1. So your next stitch will get the increase of 2 single crochets in the same space. And repeat. Your next round is going to be 2 single crochets and an increase. This will bring it up to 24 stitches. That's number 1. That's 2 single crochets. So your next stitch will get the increase of 2 single crochets in the same space. And repeat. Your next round is going to be 3 single crochets and an increase. This will bring it up to 30 stitches. It's number 1. It's number 2 and 3. So your next stitch will get the increase of 2 single crochets in the same space. And repeat. Your next round is going to be 4 single crochets and an increase. This will bring it up to 36 stitches. That's number 1. That's 4 single crochets, so your next stitch will get the marker, the increase of 2 single crochets in the same space. Your next round is going to be 5 single crochets and an increase. And this will bring it up to 42 stitches. So your next round is going to be 6 single crochets and an increase. Oops. Let's bring it up to 48 stitches. That's number 1. That's 6 single crochets and then your increase. So your next round is going to be 7 single crochets and an increase. This brings you up to 54 stitches. So our last increase round is going to be 8 single crochets and an increase, and this will bring it up to 60 stitches. So this is what you should have. So laid flat, mine's about 5 inches in width. So for the next 6 rows, you're going to put 1 single crochet in each of these 60 stitches. And when we come back, we're going to start gradually decreasing. So that is my 6 rows. So this is what you should have. Sorry, I'm trying not to lose my voice. So we're going to start decreasing now. And I want you to do an 8 single crochet decrease because that was our last increase that we did. So that's number 1. This is my 8th single crochet. So you've got 2 options for decreases. You can do a regular one, which is going into the full stitch, pulling up a loop, going into the next full stitch, pulling up a loop, yarning over and pulling through all 3. Or what I'm going to do is an invisible decrease. You're going to go into the first front loop, pop around to the second front loop, then you're going to yarn over, pull through those 2 front loops, yarn over and finish the stitch. It leaves those back loops as a filler so that you don't have any gaps. You choose whichever one you want to do. Either way, 8 single crochet decrease leaves you 54 stitches. So your next round is going to be 7 single crochets and a decrease. And this will bring you down to 48 stitches. So you should have 48 stitches. Your next round is just going to be 1 single crochet in each of these 48 stitches. Alrighty, so we're going to keep decreasing. Your next decrease round is going to be 6 single crochets and a decrease. So bring you down to 42 stitches. With the marker being number 1, that is my 6 single crochets and my decrease. And repeat. So your next round is going to be 5 single crochets and a decrease. This will bring you down to 36 stitches. So you should have 36 stitches. Your next round is going to be 1 single crochet in each of these 36 stitches. So I'm going to start putting some stuffing in mine. So your next decrease round is going to be 4 single crochets and a decrease. This will bring you down to 30 stitches. So you should have 30 stitches. For the next 3 rows, I just want you to put 1 single crochet in each of these 30 stitches. Stuff as you go if you want to. And then we come back and we continue to decrease. So this is my 3 rows. So this is what you should have. Now I haven't been stuffing mine. I'm trying not to stuff mine round because this has to sit up against a door. So I'm trying to stuff it more oval. Does that make sense? Anyway, it's getting hard to hold, so I'm not going to stuff mine for a bit. Your next decrease round is going to be 3 single crochets and a decrease. So your next decrease round is going to be 2 single crochets and a decrease. This will bring you down to 18 stitches. Your next round is going to be 1 single crochets and a decrease. This brings you down to 12 stitches. I need to put more stuffing in mine because after that we're going to start building the head. So again, I gotta watch how I stuff this because this has to sit up against a door, so I don't really want it to be round. I want it to be more kind of oval. So when we sew the legs on, everything's just kind of has to sit flush up against the door. So that's why I want to make it more oval than round. Like I said, your next round is going to be 1 single crochet and a decrease. And this will bring you down to 12 stitches. That's 1 single crochet and then my decrease. So I'm on my last stitch, which is a decrease. So I'm going to finish this stitch with my skin color. So my skin color is much lighter than this green, and that doesn't really matter. The only time that you really need to worry about it is when we start doing the stripes. So, with your skin color, I want you to do 2 single crochets in each stitch around, giving you 24 stitches. So I'm just going to count 24, putting 2 single crochets in each of these stitches. Alrighty. Your next round is going to be 1 single crochet and an increase. So that's 1 single crochet. And then your next stitch gets the increase of 2 single crochets in the same space. There we go. You should have 36 stitches. Your next round is just going to be 1 single crochet in each of these 36 stitches. So that is my 36 stitches. Your next round is going to be 2 single crochets and an increase. That's number 1. That's number 2, and then your third stitch will get the increase of 2 single crochets in the same space. So, this is what you should have. It's all squiggly and wiggly. For the next 10 rows, it's 48 stitches. So for the next 10 rows, I just want you to put 1 single crochet in each of these 48 stitches, and I will see you on the other side. So this is my 10 rows. So this is what you should have. So we're going to start decreasing again. I guess we just did a bunch of increases. Your next round is going to be 4 single crochets and a decrease. This will bring you down to 40 stitches. That's 4 single crochets and then your decrease. So I'm still sticking with my invisible. Oh, that was a tough decrease. Your next round is going to be 3 single crochets and a decrease. So your next round is going to be 2 single crochets and a decrease, and this will bring you down to 24 stitches. That's number 1. That's number 2, and then your decrease. So I'm going to stuff mine because I only have 1 row left, and that's going to basically close it up. Make sure you get really good into this neck area. Or use a wire, because you certainly don't want a wobbly head. Although I'm going to say a lot of times you're probably going to be picking it up by the hat. Because that's what I've done so far since I've made it. I keep picking it up by the hat just because it's easier. So just make sure your neck is well stuffed. Again, I kind of want the head to be oval because it's going to be up against a door. Like, I don't want it to stick out that much from the door. So as funny as that sounds, you know, some people might not have a whole lot of room in front of the door. So, I mean, if you know what door this is going in front of, and you know there's not a whole lot of room, then I wouldn't make this great big round thing, unless you want to. It's up to you. Everything's completely up to you. So that's my head. It's kind of oval like my body. This is going in front of a door in the room that we put our Christmas tree in, and our living room. And it's a walking path constantly, so I don't want it to be a trip hazard. That's why I'm making mine kind of ovalish. Ovalish. So your last round is going to be 1 single crochet and a decrease, and this brings you down to 16 stitches, and that's where we're going to kind of cinch the hole that's left. So that's 1 single crochet, and then we jump right into our decrease. Alrighty. I'm going to fasten off with a cinching and weaving tail. So I'm going to finish stuffing whatever I can into this hole So this guy's getting a hat. So it doesn't really matter what his head looks like, but it does. It doesn't matter, but it does matter. So get whatever you can jammed in there. You guys hear that cricket? Yep, can't find it. Think it's outside my window, but I can't be certain, but he's been really vocal throughout my video. So you're going to go in the front loop and out the next front loop. All the way around. So in the front loop, out the next front loop. Oh! Cricket finally shut up. So I'm all the way around. Oh, the cricket's back. And I'm going to pull my stuffing in there. Pop across. Go through the loopy loop. Make your knots both ways. And then I'm just going to weave. So, this is what you should have, a little pond. Looks like a little pond. So, I think, decide what the front and what the back is. This is going to be my back because this is my jog. This is where I was changing colors and everything. So, that's going to be my back. This could be my front. So, let's do our face. So, if you've got a hot glue gun, this is when we're going to turn on the hot glue gun because these eyes are not adhesive. But once they're glued on, they are super duper strong and they won't come off. So I've got my eyes ready, just whatever two match that fell out. So I put these between the 10th and 11th row from the color change. So 10 and 11. So you just kind of got to determine whereabouts and then glue them down. So once you're, I think my head's going to be turned because look at my body. I should have moved my eyes over a little bit. Doesn't matter. So I just sewed on the eye lids and the nose, and so get yourself a really long piece of skin color. I did not put a mouth on them. I mean, for the most part, I don't think elves really talk, do they? I don't know. Don't know much about elves. So it doesn't matter where you come in, it just matters where you pop out. You just gotta make these look like he's not angry. And then you just make a series of loops going in and out of the same hole. And then wherever you want to start the nose, see mine looks sleepy again, but wherever you want to start the nose, then again, I just did a series of loops to make the nose. So, this is how my face is turning out. He looks sad. Or stoned, I'm not sure. Not sure which. Anyway, I hope yours turned out better. And if you want to put a mouth, there's lots of room to put a mouth. I'm just not putting a mouth. I don't want to put a mouth. So let's move on to the hat next. So we start at the top of the hat and we work our way down the hat. And these color changes for me are after every third row. So every color we do 3 rows and then we change. So in the PDF I have put asterisks where the color change happens after that row. So you'll know if you follow the PDF that every row that has an asterisk at the end of what you need to do is where you need to change your color. For the video, I'm just telling you we're going to change color after every third row is done. That's when we change. If you don't like this pattern, you can change color whenever you want. We do the exact same thing on the legs. We change color after every third row, and on the arms. So that's the pattern I've chosen. You can choose whatever color change pattern you want for this hat. You will need red, white, and your green. So I'm going to start with red, and I'm going to make a magic ring of 6 single crochets. Again, if you don't like the magic ring, you can just do chain 2 and put everything into the first stitch. Your first round is just going to be 1 single crochet in each of these 6 stitches. The first stitch is always a doozy. So I just wanted the point, and that's why I just chose to just do this next row. Easy peasy. This is my 6th stitch, and I know it is because of this, and plus I counted. I counted to 6, but that tail is always an indication too, which I'm going to now pull tight and make a knot at the back here. There we go. And then I can kind of just wiggle it inside out, right side in. So your next round is going to be 1 single crochet and an increase, and this brings you up to 9. So instead of increasing every single row by 6, we're going to increase it by 3. That's 1 single crochet with your marker, and then the next stitch will get the increase of 2 single crochets in the same space, and repeat. So you will do everything 3 times as well. So that's our second row. Our third row The end of this last row is where we're going to change to white, and it's just 1 single crochet in each of these 9 stitches. This is my 9th stitch, and I'm struggling to get into these stitches today for some reason. This is where I'm going to switch to white. I keep the red attached because I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep going to it. So your next round with white is going to be 2 single crochets and an increase. I do not weave in the red because I need it to be at this location when I come back, but I will weave in my white tail. So 2 single crochets and an increase. The marker's number 1, that's number 2, and then your increase of 2 single crochets in the same space. Your next round is going to be 1 single crochet in each of these 12 stitches. Okay, last row in white is going to be 3 single crochets and an increase. This will bring it up to 15 stitches. And then we change to our red. It's number 1 with your marker. That's 3 single crochets. And then your increase. So, this is my last stitch, and I'm putting my increase in. So on the second stitch, that's when I go back to red, I'll finish the increase stitch with my red. And you're just going to do 1 single crochet in each of these 15 stitches. Again, there's no point weaving anything in. Round 8, you're going to do 4 single crochets and an increase. So bring it up to 18 stitches. That's number 1 with the marker. That's 4 single crochets, and then your next stitch will get the increase of 2 single crochets in the same space. And repeat. Your last row with red is just going to be 1 single crochet in each of these 18 stitches. So on my last stitch, I'm going to finish it with the white. So next round is going to be 5 single crochets and an increase. Your next round is just going to be 1 single crochet in each of these 21 stitches. Your last round with white is going to be 6 single crochets and an increase. That's number 1. That's my 6 single crochets and then my increase. Okay, I am on my last stitch where I would normally change color, but my line, because we work in a spiral, is starting to do this. So this is where I add a couple of more stitches with my white before I change color, just to put myself back into the lineup, so to speak. So on my second stitch, I'm going to change color. And now I start recounting from this new position. So your next round is just going to be 1 single crochet in each of these 24 stitches. And that's how I try to kind of keep it straight a little bit. So your next round is going to be 7 single crochets and an increase. So your last round before we switch back to white is just going to be 1 single crochet in each of these 27 stitches. So I'm coming up to my last stitch. I'm going to change to the white. Put my marker out of the way. Sometimes markers can be a pain in the butt. And with my white, I'm going to do 8 single crochets and an increase. Your next round is just going to be 1 single crochet in each of these 30 stitches. So your next round is going to be 9 single crochets and an increase. And then we change color at the end of this row. This row will bring you up to 33 stitches. This is my last stitch of my increase. So I'm going to go to the red. And your next round is just going to be 1 single crochet in each of these 33 stitches. So I am all the way around. My next row is going to be round 20 is 10 single crochets and an increase. So bring it up to 36 stitches. So I'm going to move my marker point a couple of steps over. And we're going to make this number 1 because I'm getting off. But for the most part, when you do that, it's not too bad. I'm trying to keep it just kind of in a straight line. Fold this properly so you can tell. So, I mean, it's all in the same line instead of going sideways. It certainly doesn't stop this, and I don't care about that. Anyway, your next round is just going to be 1 single crochet in each of these 36 stitches, and then we go to white. So I'm on my last stitch. I'm going to go to white. And I'm going to do 11 single crochets and an increase, and this will bring me up to 39 stitches. Your next round is just going to be 1 single crochet in each of these 39 stitches. Your next round is going to be 12 single crochets and an increase. This will bring it up to 42 stitches. And then we change back to red. So I'm on my last stitch and I'm going to change to red. And with the red, I'm just going to do 1 single crochet in each of these 42 stitches. And I'm going to move my marker. So your next round is going to be round 26, 13 single crochet and an increase. So your next round is just going to be 1 single crochet in each of these 45 stitches. So this is my last stitch. I'm going to go to my white. And round 28, we're going to be done shortly. So this round with your white is going to be 14 single crochets at an increase. This will bring it up to 48 stitches, and that's how big our head was. So that's where we stop. Well, we stop with the increases. Alright. Your next round is going to be 1 single crochet in each of these 48 stitches. I'm going to move my marker again. 1 space. So that'll be number 1. Alright, so we're done our increases, and for the next 2 rows, I just want you to put 1 single crochet in each stitch. However, you're going to have to change color in between, so you're going to do 1 row in white, and then your second row will be in red. And then we come back and we're going to start building the brim of the hat. So 2 rows of 1 single crochet in each stitch for 48 stitches. So that's my second row. So this next round, you're going to be getting into the front loops only. So these guys right here. You're just doing 1 single crochet, but it needs to be done in the front loops only. Excuse me, only. After this round, we are changing to green. So I'm coming up to my last front loop, and I've got to change to green. So we don't come back to the red. We're going to cut this red off. So of course I'm going to do my normal color change. But you can do whatever you want for a color change. You can weave it in. You can do whatever you like. We're not coming back to that. So with our green, now we're getting into the back loops. So now we got to get into these guys back here. And we're just doing 1 single crochet in each of the back loops. All the way around. And there is a reason for it, so you can't really skip this part. So your next round, we're going to be using the front loops. So we just used all these back loops, and we left all of these front loops exposed, and that's what we're getting into for the next round. So using the front loops, we're just going to do 1 single crochet in each stitch. Getting into the first one's a little tough because it's a little bit hidden. Just make sure you pull up to extend the stitch a little bit. So you're just doing 1 single crochet in each of these front loops. So we're going to do 48 stitches, and then we're going to chain 1 and we're going to turn at the end of this. So we're not just going to keep going around in a circle. So that's my 48th stitch. I'm going to chain 1 and I'm going to turn my work. So the marker stays there. You don't go into it, you don't touch it. For the next 2 rows, you're just going to do 1 single crochet in each of these 48. So you're going to go around. So there's going to be a gap, but don't worry about that. We'll take care of that later when we sew everything together, or sew the hat onto the head. We take care of that. So 2 rows, chain 1 and turn at the end. So that's my 2 rows. This marker we're kind of done with it. I want you to come over here and slip stitch and chain 1. Don't worry about this. As you're sewing it, you can sew that together if you're that concerned about it. That's all I did while I was sewing. I just sewed that together. It only took a stitch. So we're going to make our ruffles on the ends. In case you're wondering, this rolls up. It's going to be up like this for the hat. In case you're wondering what the heck we're doing. We're just building it in a position that's more comfortable. So this next round is just going to be your they're not frills, but it's a border. So into your next stitch, you're going to put a single crochet, you're going to chain 2 and put a single crochet. Then you're going to slip stitch into your next stitch, and then the next stitch starts your repeat again. Single crochet, chain 2, single crochet, slip stitch. So it puts these points. So not really frills, but points. So we're going to do this repeat all the way around. So I'm all the way back around. I've got 2 stitches left to do my point. and then slip stitch into this next stitch and fasten off. You're going to need a sewing tail that's quite long to sew it around on the head. So I'm going to scooch up through this next stitch because I want to sew in this, well, it'll be in this area. This will be flipped up, and I'll be sewing in this area. So I just want to scooch my yarn down into a place to start, and that includes joining this together with this one stitch before I start to sew to my head. So this gets sewn on flipped up like this. If you're adding hair, when we did the front loops in round 32, we left all the back loops exposed. If you want to do hair, these are the loops you can use to put the hair on before you sew the hat on. Then you'll have these little tufts of hair sticking out from your hat. I'm not doing hair. I'm just going to do the same thing as my last doll, or my last one, but if you're doing hair, then you can certainly have easy access. I want this to be either on the side or at the back, so it's not that noticeable. I generally do the back. So this gets pulled right down at the back to the neck. And then this is kind of meant to stand up away from the hat, like that. So, like I said, I just used this area to sew, and I go down into the head. But when I go to sew again, I start from back here, one stitch back from my lead, to go down into the head again and pop out. So that's how I sewed the hat on last time. It's going to be how I sew it on again. So while I'm here, I'm going to grab a little piece to make my knot with. Just make sure you push that down so it's super duper small, so nobody will see it. And then you can weave. That's my hat. I'm not sure it's on completely straight because, you know, I suck at sewing. He looks so sad. I totally have to fix these eyes. So, anyway, I think I'm gonna figure out how to put jingle bells on the end of these things. So, now that the face and the head and everything is done, let's start the elephant in the room, the big long legs. Let's get those started, and then we can do the arms at the end, because the legs will be hard to sew on if the arms are there, so we'll do the arms last. So, I don't need your pipe or anything yet. We just need our yarn. So we're going to build it, and then we're going to shove it in the pipe into it after it's done. It's way easier to do it that way. So mine starts with green. I made the boots green. So whatever shoe boot color that you want, you're going to start with a magic ring of 6 single crochets. Your next round is going to be 2 single crochets in each stitch for 12 stitches. Well, it'll give you 12 stitches. Your next round is going to be 1 single crochet and an increase, and this brings you up to 18 stitches. That's 1 single crochet. And then your next stitch will get the increase of 2 single crochets in the same space, and repeat. Your next round is going to be 2 single crochets and an increase, and this will bring it up to 24 stitches. That's number 1, that's number 2, and then your increase. Your next round is going to be 3 single crochets and an increase. This brings you up to 30 stitches. So your last increase round, it's going to be 4 single crochets and an increase. So for the next 2 rows, I just want you to put 1 single crochet in each of those 36 stitches. So this is the end of my 2 rows. We're going to start to decrease just the toe area of this boot. And I know this looks ginormous and it'll look different after. So first we're going to do 24 single crochets. This is my 24th stitch. So I'm going to do a 2 single crochet decrease 3 times. Should take you to the end of your marker. So that's number 1. Number 2, and then my decrease is going to be done in the front loops. That's 1 time, 2 single crochets, and a decrease 2 times. And the 3rd time takes you right to your marker and should give you 33 stitches. We're going to do the same thing again, 24 single crochets to start. This is my 24th stitch. And now I'm going to do 1 single crochet decrease 3 times. This will take me to my marker and it'll give me 30 stitches. That's 1 single crochet and then your decrease. 2 more times. So, your next round is going to be the same. Starts with 24 single crochets. This is my 24th stitch. And now I want you to do a decrease 3 times. So 3 in a row. SC2 togs. Decrease. Decrease. And a decrease. Alright. So you see the shape that's taken place. Should have 27 stitches. So 1 more weird row. So 24 single crochets. That's my 24th stitch. I've got 3 stitches left. I'm going to SC3 tog, which means I'm going to single crochet 3 together. So I picked up all 3 loops, I yarned over, pulled through, and finished the stitch. So, put this in a shape. You can see the little booty coming together. You'll see it better after the next few rows. So for the next 5 rows, I just want you to put, you should have 25 stitches. I just want you to put 1 single crochet in each of these 25 stitches. Put a little bit of stuffing in it, but because we're using that foam door draft thing, I only put stuffing partway up the boot, but we'll talk about that after we come back. After our 5 rows, I'll see you right back here. So this is the end of my 5 rows. So before I start the next one, so this is what your boot should look like. So now it looks like a little booty. Before I start the next row, I want to move my marker because I don't want it to be there when we start doing color changes or the next row. The next row is done in the back loops and you will see that jog. So I want to move my marker to the back. So just single crochets all the way to the back. I said 12 stitches initially in my pattern. That's 12 stitches, and that puts me, well, sort of kind of at the back. My first stitch is almost in the middle. So this is round 17 that we're on. We're going to be doing back loops only. So if you remember these guys back here, you're just going to do 1 single crochet in each back loop, and then we change to white. So I'm on my 25th stitch and I'm going to finish it with my white. So the white is just going to stay attached because we're going to start doing our red-white color changes. So with white, you're going to do 3 rows of 1 single crochet in each stitch. I'm going to weave in the green instead of, well, I can tie these together. I'll do my regular tying them together, but when it comes to the red and the white, I'm not going to be doing this. So we're doing every 3 rows. Well, I am doing every 3 rows because that's what I did for my other stripes. So whatever you did for your other stripes, if it's the same as mine, then great. If it's not, then do whatever you did for your color changes on your hat to match. So mine's going to be 1 single crochet in each stitch for the next 3 rows. And then I'm going to go to red. There's going to be no increasing. This is the size it's going to be until we're done. Because this is the size of the foam thing that I had. But if you bought something different than me, then you might have to measure it. So your foot might be completely different if you're using foam. So this is my 3rd row of white. I'm going to change to my red. If you're not changing color, if you have variegated yarn or if you're just doing plain, then 66 rows is what I did. I'm going to weave in my red tail, but I'm not weaving in anything else, and I'm not cutting anything else off. I'm just going to weave in my red tail. So this will be round 21 to 23, 3 rows of the red. Pull down on my white to make sure it's tight. So we're going to go back and forth like this every 3rd row. And I will meet you back. But like I said, 66 rows if you're not changing colors. Well, 66 rows regardless, whether you're changing colors or not. Do not stuff this. Only stuff the boot. I've stuffed the boot up to about here, by the way. So kind of right here at the toe. I didn't stuff past this. So all this will be that foam thing. So you can also go by measurement for this. You can do this till, I mean, I cut my leg, my foam pieces 12 inches long, so you can, with the 1.5, 2 inches you have here, you need about, you know, the rest, just you can go by measurements as well. So, PDF users, you're going to see 5 asterisks underneath round 21 to 23, 1 single crochet each stitch, 3 rows and brackets. Right underneath that, you're going to see 5 asterisks. The 5 asterisk stands for white, which means you're going to change to white. Underneath round 24 to 26, you're going to see 3 asterisks, which stands for red, just so that you know which color you're going to. I just did it in asterisks instead of writing the word. So, everybody else that's with me on the video, 24 to 26 is going to be 3 rows of white. This is round 27 to 29. Will be 3 rounds of red. Round 30 to 32 is 3 rows of white. Changing to red for 33 to 35. So it counts up pretty quick. So we're starting round 36 to 38, so 3 rows of white. So I'm going to change to red. And with my red, I'm going to do 3 rows, and we're on 39 to 41. So now we are going to 42 to 44. So coming up to another color change. The whole project goes to row 66. The stripes go to row 62, and right now we're starting 45 to 47. So we're on 48.50. So we're changing colors again, and now we're moving on to 51 to 53. So we are changing to white for 54 to 56. So we're on 57 to 59. We just have a few more rows to go. So we are coming to the end of the stripes. We're going to change to white, do 3 more rows of our stripes, and then we're going to change to red for 1 row and then change to green. So that's the lineup. That's what's coming down the pipe. So we're done our stripes. I just want you to change to red. So I'm going to weave in this white for a bit and then cut it off. So for red, I just want you to do round 63. It's just going to be 1 round of 1 single crochet in each stitch, and then we go to the green color. And that way it kind of matches the hat a little bit. So I'm weaving my white in at the back because I'm just going to cut it off. So, I'm going to go into this stitch to make it my last one, and I'm going to go to green. So you can do your regular old color change here. And then with your green, I just want you to do 3 rows, and then we can fasten off and put our pipe in there. So I am done my 3 rows. I did a pretty good job lining up my color changes by moving my marker 1 stitch over every 3rd round. So it looks pretty good. I'm going to fasten off with my green. You need a sewing tail if you choose to cinch this around the top of the pipe, you also need a cinching tail. So you need something decently long anyway, depending on what you're going to do with it. So make sure our pipe is going to fit. Yep. Like my pipe's going to fit pretty good. So I take this adhesive off. This is adhesive, it normally would slide underneath your door and then these two sticky parts would stick to your door. But we're just going to stick them to each other. So we're going to reattach down here at the bottom, and we're going to do the same thing we did with the hat before we put the pipe in. But just make sure that you're... So I'm stuffing... Oh, my pipe will go down to here. So just make sure you're going to have enough room. So again, I stopped stuffing in this area. So with your green, we're going to reattach. I want the foot to be facing you when you attach. So make a slip knot. Now the PDF says to attach on the front loops from round 17. And that would be these guys on your boot. So find your jog. It'll be back here with your color changes. Find your jog and go to the bottom loop. And reattach. We're going to be working in single crochets, so you can reattach with a single crochet if you want. Doesn't matter, slip stitch, single crochet. I'm going to put another one in there anyway, because when I pull this, it kind of doesn't, it's not a stitch anymore. So, single crochet, actually you can do 4 of those. 4 single crochets and an increase. That's number 1. So, working all in your front loops. That's 4 single crochets, and then your next loop will get the increase of 2 single crochets in the same loop. So continue this all the way around. So, I'm just going to move my straggler up and over here. Your next round is going to be 1 single crochet in each of these 30 stitches. So, we're not slip stitching, just pop right over. I mean, I guess you can if you want to, there's just no need for it. Pop right over and continue 1 single crochet in each of these 30 stitches. So we're going to do the same thing we did to make the little points that we did on the hat. So go into your next stitch, do a single crochet, chain 2, and a single crochet. Then your next stitch is going to be a slip stitch. Next stitch, single crochet, chain 2, single crochet. Next stitch, slip stitch. All the way around. So I have one stitch left, and I'm just going to slip stitch and fasten off in that space. Just need a weaving tail. And that, so it can be both ways. I just left mine hanging like that. So we can put this pipe in. Not the easiest thing to get it on. Just like that. And then this at the top, you can choose whether to sew it on open or not, but I didn't. I cinched mine. That's why I said when we were closing this up that a cinching tail or whatever, so I cinched mine closed. So you go into the front loops and out the front loops all the way around. Cinch. You can skip spaces if you want. This will be up against the body. Nobody will see it. So I know I'm really close to the camera, so just make sure it's kind of up and over. Pull that closed, and then I'm going to cinch around the hole again to make it is tight in there already, but it helps tighten that, close that hole up some more. Not that anyone's going to see it, but sure it'll make your life easier. So you can pop across and make a knot, and then kind of pop out wherever you're going to pop out to sew. I just poked through the foam. So, and then of course make sure your foot is upright and straight, and it gets sewn. I try to sew more back, because this is all going to be up against a door. So sew more back ways than front ways. Does that make sense? It's super duper hard, I'm not going to lie. It's super duper hard to sew this in the right spot. So I'm going to be very gentle when I do this, but now that I've got an idea of where I'm going, you probably can't see me or what I'm doing. It's not something that's going to be easy to sew on camera, that's for sure. So I just wanted to get a couple of mattress stitches in there so that I can, you know, leg it in place so it stops moving on me. So now that I got it somewhat sewn in place where I want it, then I'm going to go around a second time. And this time I'm going to do it off camera because that was very difficult to do on camera. So I will see you. Okay, so I'm gonna finish sewing my leg. I'm gonna go around a second time with my mattress stitch. I'm gonna put the pattern for the leg on the screen for the boot and the leg. I'm not gonna put every color change though. Like I'm not gonna put this because it would be a 3 screen pattern. I'm just gonna put from such and such a row to row 62 is going to be the changes. So just know you need 2, 4, 6, 7 blocks of red and 8 blocks of white for your rows, if you did it like mine. So 8 blocks of white and 7 blocks of red. You'll start with white, you'll end on white, and then you'll do your 1 row. This will be the end of row 62, and then 63 is your row of red. All of this will be on the screen, but it won't be written for you to change colors. And that, because I don't know how you even change colors. I don't know if you did what I did or if you did something else. So the pattern's going to go on the screen. Make your second leg, get it sewn on, and then we can move on to arms. So now that my legs are done, let's get into doing these arms. That's my guy. He looks so funny. So we need to start with the skin color for the arms. And we're going to start with a magic ring of 6 single crochets. You can come back down here. So a magic ring of 6 single crochets. Your next round is going to be 2 single crochets in each stitch. So after the first stitch, that's when your marker goes in. So it'll give you a total of 12 stitches when you're done. So your next round is going to be 1 single crochets and an increase. This will bring you up to 18 stitches. Your Your next round is going to be 2 single crochets and an increase. This will bring it up to 24 stitches. Your next round is going to be 3 single crochets and an increase. Your last increase round is going to be 4 single crochets and an increase. This brings you up to 36 stitches. So for the next 4 rows, I just want you to put 1 single crochet in each of these 36 stitches, and I will see you on the other side. I am on my last stitch. I'm going to go to green. And with green, I'm going to do 1 single crochet in each of these 36 stitches for 1 row. So that is it for that round. Our next round is going to be back loops, and then after this we're going to change to white. So this last round is back loops, leaving all our front loops exposed so we can do our little frillies. So I'm all the way back around. I'm going into my last back loop and I'm going to change to white. So we're going to start our stripes again. So you can cut the green off. So it'll be changing to red after 3 rows, or however. So this is where, if you've done every 2 rows or every row, or however you've done your stripes, mine are every 3 rows. 4 single crochets and a decrease all the way around will give you 30 stitches. Your next round is going to be 1 single crochet in each of these 30 stitches. So your next round is going to be 3 single crochets and a decrease. This will bring you down to 24 stitches, and at the end of this row we're going to change to red. So I'm on my last stitch, and of course it's a decrease. So I'm going to pull through the 2, but I'm not going to finish it. It's the last pull through that I don't finish. So I'm not doing my normal tie together. I need to keep the white on and the red to do my stripes. So with red, for the next 3 rows, you're just going to do 1 single crochet in each of these 24 stitches. So I've changed back to white, and with my white, I'm going to do 2 rows of just 1 single crochet in each stitch, and then the 3rd row will be a decrease. So the first 2 rows is just 1 single crochet in each stitch. I've stuffed mine a little bit. I do a lot of stuffing in the bottom up to past where we need to put our frillies. Other than that, I stuff it very lightly at that point. So that's my 2 rows of my white. The last row of white is going to be 2 single crochets and a decrease, and then we'll switch to red again. Oh, I gotta change to red on this one. I forgot. So I'm changing to red on my last decrease. And then with red, I'm going to do 1 single crochet in each stitch around, and then a decrease next. So 3 rounds for everything. Your next round is going to be 1 single crochets and a decrease, and this will bring you down to 12 stitches. So your last red row is going to be 1 single crochet in each of the 12 stitches. I'm going to weave in my white because I'm not going back to this. I'm actually going back to green. So I'm changing to green at the end of this row. So this row is just going to be 1 single crochet in each of these 12 stitches. And then I got to do some stuffing. So I'm going to green. I'm going to cut this white off because I just weaved it all the way around. I'm changing to green. So with green, we're going to do 5 rows of just 1 single crochet in each stitch, but I'm going to stuff mine before I start. So make sure this is stuffed good enough, and then this is just kind of a light stuffing, and I didn't even go all the way up. I did not stuff the green part. So whatever we're going to do now does not get stuffed. So just lightly stuff the striped part and firmly stuff this. I just really didn't want the weight pulling it forward. I want it to sit up against the door, so that's why I'm kind of easing off on the stuffing a little bit. So it'll still look fine. And I mean, I didn't stuff this solid, as you can see. You can still poke it, but you want it to kind of keep its shape a little bit. So yeah, I'm not putting a whole lot in here. Anyway, so for in your green is going to be 5 rows. So you only have 12 stitches, so it goes pretty fast. I will see you on the other side. That'll be it. So we're going to fasten off after our 5 rows and whip stitch it. So that is my 5 rows. I'm going to fasten off. You need a whip stitching tail and a sewing tail to sew it to the body. So our color change isn't really that bad. If you don't want it, if you want it to be kind of in, let me get my guy here. Zoom out a bit. If you wanted it to be in up against the body, then I would fasten off in a different spot. So if you don't want it here, for example, I'll change it. I'll change where I want mine. So if you want your color change, this color change, to be up against the body, then you need to fold your piece like this. So your fold is across this way, which means you got to fasten off here instead of where we did. So just change where you fasten off, and then when you whip stitch it closed, you can sew your color changes toward the body. Just like that. And then you won't see them at all. So we're going to attach and do the frills before we sew it, but I'll show you where I want you to sew it first. So whip stitch this closed. And then this gets sewn literally right up. Well, almost right up. Yeah, I mean, obviously got to get a sewing needle in there, but and then on the diagonal, so that it's more forward in the front. And this is what's going to help not fall over. That's what the purpose of the arm is. So if you sewed it over here, it's not going to do any good. You need to sew it so it's basically in the front. So it stops it. That's why I wanted this to be, this bottom part to be stuffed really well, but up here it doesn't really matter. And then sew it on so it's right in the front. So it's going to have to be a little bit on a diagonal like that near the neck. So let's get him out of the way. Before we sew it, we need to find our jog, and we need to reattach with our green, or whatever you're doing. So this one's going to be a little bit different than our other ones. It's going to be a row short, but when I did it to be 3 rows like the other pieces, it didn't look so good, so I changed it. So reattach on your front loops, put another single crochet in there so that you can use it, because generally when you pull down, that first stitch disappears. So you're going to do 8 single crochets and an increase. So that's number 1. That's 8 single crochets, and then your next front loop is going to get the increase of 2 single crochets in the same space. And repeat. This will bring it up to 40 stitches. So we're going to jump right into our frillies, and we're going to do a single crochet, chain 2, single crochet, next stitch is a slip stitch. So the same ones we've been doing this whole time. So you can go into your next stitch and fasten off. You just need weaving tails over here on this end. And then, like I said, this gets sewn on the diagonal so that he's in front. There. I wouldn't sew underneath because it'll make the arm come up. So go ahead and make your second arm, get it sewn on. So I've got my other arm sewn on. I'm just going to go down into this corner, and I'm going to pop out into the same space I popped out with my other guy. I'm going to cut some of this off because it's really long. So I'm going to make my double knots. This way nobody's pulling any arms off. There we go. So, turn him around. I know it's hard to see, but that's what I got going on. So when he's up against the door, he can lean on his hands. So there's no falling over. There's not going to be any falling back because there'll be a door back there. So let's get on to these extra little details. So for example, I took my red and I put little shoelaces on. Just little tiny shoelaces. You can make them bigger if you want. That has a jingle bell on it. So that's just a little extra I did there. So, and I think putting one on the end of the hat too is probably a good idea. So if you wanted to do that, now that his arms are on, he sits up a lot easier. So I just need to grab a piece of red. I'm going to use 2 different needles. I'm going to use a smaller, if I can grab it, a smaller needle to go through my jingle bell. These are 18mm jingle bells that I'm using. You can buy these, you can buy jingle bells at the dollar store or at Michael's. So hopefully you can see okay. I'm going to go in. Doesn't really matter where you go in. Just pop out where you want it to start, because you're going to kind of loop it around like this. So you can start anywhere. So now we just need to make it cross like that. So you're going to go in wherever you want it and pop out over here and then cross them. So now come down into here and then go up where you want your other one to be. Now I'm just making mine small, but if you want yours bigger than that, you can just spread it out. And now again, we're going to come down to where you want it to cross, but this time we're just going to slip up here. So I'm in the same row, and then I'm going to cross them like this, but before I cross them like that, this is where I put the jingle bell on. So I'm just going to re-thread a different needle, because this one doesn't go through the jingle bell, and I don't like sewing with this one. Not for something like this. So I'm going to pull that through the jingle bell. Put this back on my hook. And then finish by coming down through this one and just popping out the back. So that's your jingle bell on what looks like shoelaces. And then I just cut it off there and there. And then as far as this hat, the tippy part of his hat, I think I'm just gonna use a big piece and just loop around first. I'm just gonna loop around first. It's might be easier that way. Thread your needle. Go through your... These ones have this little hook at the top, so... So all I'm going to do is now just tie these. And then just weave my pieces down. That is it. That's all we have. So, thanks for joining me, guys. I hope you liked it. I'll see you in the next video.